Throughout the course of human history, societies have devised astonishingly cruel methods to enforce order and deter transgressions. These historical punishments offer a chilling, often sickening glimpse into the darker aspects of our past. They were not merely about justice, they were instruments of control. Their primary aim was to inflict immense suffering, both as retribution and as a stark warning to others. They served to maintain power structures, crush dissent, and reinforce the established norms of their time. The stories of these torments remind us of a world where the value of human life was often overshadowed by the desire for dominance. Exploring these practices is not for the faint of heart, but it is crucial for understanding the depths of historical inhumanity. It is a sobering reflection on the lengths to which humans have gone to punish, control, and terrorize. These methods stand as monuments to a brutal era, where the boundaries of suffering were constantly tested and redefined. One of the most infamous and agonizing methods of execution in the ancient world was crucifixion. This horrific punishment was predominantly used by the Roman Empire, reserved for the most heinous criminals and rebellious subjects. It was a clear demonstration of state power and the consequences of defiance. Victims were nailed or tied to a large wooden cross, left exposed to the elements and public view. The death was excruciatingly slow, often taking days to arrive. Causes of death typically included severe dehydration, exhaustion, blood loss, and ultimately, asphyxiation as the body weakened. The public spectacle of crucifixion was deliberate, designed to terrify the populace into submission. It was not just a punishment, it was a powerful propaganda tool, etched into the collective memory of Roman citizens and those they subjugated. Its enduring legacy is a testament to its profound and brutal impact. During the European Middle Ages and the infamous Inquisition, few instruments of torture were as feared as the rack. This device was meticulously designed to inflict unimaginable pain by systematically dislocating a victim's joints and stretching their body to unnatural lengths. It was an engineering marvel of cruelty. The primary purpose of the rack was to extract confessions, often regardless of their truthfulness. Victims were fastened to the device by their wrists and ankles, and then a crank was turned, slowly pulling their limbs in opposite directions. The sound of ligaments tearing and bones cracking was a deliberate part of the torment. The screams in agony were intended to break the victim's will, compelling them to confess to whatever crimes were alleged. Whether guilty or innocent, few could endure the complete extension of the rack, making it a terrifyingly effective tool for extracting desired information or admissions of guilt. It represented the ultimate physical and psychological coercion. Impalement is a form of execution that stands out for its prolonged agony and gruesome public display. This brutal practice was common in ancient Persia and later gained notoriety through figures like Vlad the Impaler, the 15th century ruler of Wallachia. It was a terrifying instrument of state terror. The method involved forcing a sharpened wooden or metal stake through the victim's body. The entry point was often through the anus or abdomen, and the stake was driven upwards, avoiding vital organs to prolong the suffering. The victim was then hoisted upright, leaving them to slowly slide further down the stake by their own weight. Death could take days, marked by unimaginable pain, exposure, and a slow, agonizing descent. The sight of impaled bodies was a deliberate tactic to instill fear and deter rebellion or crime among the populace. It served as a stark, horrifying warning against defying authority, a testament to its savage effectiveness. Among the many horrific methods of execution devised by ancient civilizations, scaphism stands out as particularly sadistic and prolonged. This ancient Persian punishment, sometimes called the boats, was a meticulously designed torture meant to maximize suffering. It epitomized calculated cruelty. The condemned was confined within two hollowed-out tree trunks or boats, fitted together so only their head, hands, and feet protruded. They were then force-fed copious amounts of milk and honey, which induced severe diarrhea. More honey was smeared on their exposed body parts to attract insects. Left to bake under the sun, the victim's excrement and the sticky honey became a breeding ground for insects, particularly flies, wasps, and eventually burrowing worms and maggots. These creatures would feed on the victim's festering flesh, consuming them alive. Death, usually from septic shock, gangrene, or dehydration, would come slowly, after days or even weeks of unimaginable torment. Scaphism was not just execution. It was a deliberate, drawn-out process of decay and consumption. It combined starvation, dehydration, exposure, and living infestation into one comprehensive, utterly depraved form of death. It represents a chilling pinnacle of human inventiveness in suffering. The act of burning a person alive at the stake has been a common form of execution across various cultures and eras, particularly prevalent in medieval Europe. This punishment was reserved primarily for crimes deemed to be affronts against religious or social order, such as heresy and witchcraft. It was a spectacle meant to purify and deter. The condemned individual was typically tied to a large wooden stake, often surrounded by flammable material. The fire was then ignited, leading to a slow and agonizing death. The public nature of these burnings was crucial, serving as a grim lesson and a potent display of authority. During the European witch hunts, thousands of individuals, predominantly women, met their end in this horrifying manner. The flames were believed by some to cleanse the soul and purify the land of perceived evil. It was an act of extreme social control, designed to eradicate perceived threats and instill absolute obedience to prevailing doctrines. The terror of the burning stake lingered long in the collective memory, a symbol of religious fervor and the ruthless suppression of dissent. It remains one of history's most visceral and haunting methods of execution, a testament to an era when fear and faith were inextricably linked. These extreme methods of historical punishment are more than just grim anecdotes. They are stark reflections of past societal values. They highlight a time when the concept of justice was often indistinguishable from vengeance, and the power of the state or church was absolute. The intrinsic value of human life was often secondary to the preservation of power and control. Thankfully, such barbaric practices are now largely relegated to the history books, universally condemned by modern ethical standards. Yet, their examination serves as a potent and sobering reminder of the importance of human rights and dignity. It underscores the fragility of justice and the continuous struggle required to uphold humane principles. The evolution away from these brutal methods signifies profound progress in human civilization. They compel us to acknowledge the darkness from which we have emerged and reinforce our commitment to a more just, empathetic, and humane world. We must never forget these harrowing chapters of our past, lest we risk repeating them.